guys, welcome back to another edition of Chats from the Blog Cabin. Today I'm joined by Elliott, and Elliott, you call yourself a high performance coach. Now, before we get into that, tell us who Elliott is besides being a high performance coach.
Melissa, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come into your platform and then to share about who I am and what I get to do. And I just love your intro where it said, where you mentioned you got support from your family. And I just want to start there, right? I am first a husband to my wife and a father to my two kids. And that always didn't come up for me first, right? It was maybe like middle of the conversation, later towards the end of the conversation, that would come up. But now I'm like, no, that's what I value. And that's what is important to me. So that's where I would love to start and say that. That's who I am.
I love that. I don't know. We actually had a chat before we came on, and you talked about how you did a little research. So I want to know, did you actually were able to see the episode or listen to the episode where I had all three of my girls on?
I did not. Oh my gosh, I'll go back and listen to that one.
I think it was like episode 25. It was like one of the very first episodes I did. And I happened to have all three of my girls home. They were in the house. I was out here in the blog cabin, and they had on their computer, and I was out here. So it wasn't in person. I never even thought about doing it that way. But okay. Yeah, they were on. So just listening to them, you'll see a whole new experience with them.
Okay, definitely. I'll go back and listen to that episode.
So you say you're married and you have two kids. So how old are your kids?
I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter.
Ooh, your son, you're going to be okay through teenage years, but the daughter, I'll be praying for you because I have three girls. I went all the way through teenage years with the girls. Woo, they are not fun times.
And I've been told, right, like enjoy these times because right now I know they still want to hang around mom and dad and they still want to be around mom and dad, and pretty soon it's going to be a kind of leave me alone. I just want to hang out with my friends or have some me time and be by myself. And so I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every second of it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
And then once they get older, they want to come back around.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So as soon as you get through those teenage years, they're your best friends again. So you're good.
Yeah. Just a little bit of a rough patch there, right? So
yeah, just don't write them off during their teenage years.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to become a high performance coach?
It wasn't something that I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. No, I didn't grow up thinking that. I didn't even know much about the coaching industry until I got into it. I come from a background of an education background and a athletic coaching background. I spent a lot of time coaching high school football, coached some youth soccer, coached some college football, and that was my extent of coaching. But I didn't know much about like the life coaching industry and that sort. So I kind of fell into it. But I say that I've been preparing it for my whole life to what I'm doing now. So. And I love every second of it, and I enjoy it a lot.
Now, you do have a really amazing story. So do you want to start your amazing story of how coming from a country that was war-torn and how you grew up? So you want to share that?
Yeah. So going back, I guess years now, my parents escaped a war-torn country and were refugees and immigrants to the U.S. and came here with just a backpack on their back, right, with my three older siblings. And then for me, I was a year after my parents were being in the U.S., then that's when I was born. So I was born here in the U.S., born and raised here in Minnesota. And my dad was an entrepreneur himself. He started his own small business. He was kind of like the person that my family and relatives kind of looked up to and said, hey, this is a person of wisdom. Let's go to him for answers and solutions. And after being in the U.S., 7-8 years or so, my dad was able to start his own small business without money, without knowing the language, without knowing the culture. I look back and I was like, how did my dad start a small business by himself? And he, did like crowdfunding before crowdfunding, right? He was able to go and to the relatives and say, hey, what do you have available so that we could start up a grocery store, right? So he started up his own grocery store, and not too long after that, a few years, I want to say 3 years, and then he passed away in a tragic car accident. He was the breadwinner. He was the one who was making money. And my mom was a homemaker, left to raise 7 kids on her own with the equivalency of a second grade reading level. So I had a pretty, rough and challenging upbringing.
Wow. And what made you decide to escape? Because in your bio, you talk about you not letting your past dictate your future.
Yeah, right. Being raised by a single parent, being raised in a poor community, right, in the projects, and not allowing that to, because one or two wrong decisions or bad choices, I could have been in a gang, wouldn't have done drugs, would have went that route, been locked up, maybe impossibly, dead. Because I know people from when I grew up who are locked up, who are dead, and who are not doing things that they would want to do. And at that time, I wasn't looking at that and saying, why is my mom always on my case? Why is she so hard on me? Why is she always on my back? Like, can she just let me breathe? And now I look back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad she was hard on me. I'm so glad she pushed me. I'm so glad she was always on my back and telling me, do not go out. You can't stay out late. Come back home. All of this stuff, right? And I was like, oh, there's a reason why. She knew what the path that I could have taken. And here I was thinking, I'm more educated than you. I'm smarter than you. I know more than you, right? But it was that wisdom piece. She was more wise than a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old teenager thinking who was like, oh, I'm more educated than you. I know more than you. I don't need to listen to you, kind of thing.
So have you ever been able to have a conversation with your mom and say you were right?
Yes. And And I have told her that, and, bless her soul as well. She has passed as well. But luckily for me, I did have that conversation with her because this was in my 20s. And I look back, it's like, why was she so hard on me? And I was appreciative of it and let her know that as well, saying, hey, I may have said things or done things and didn't appreciate then, but now I do, because I could have gone down that road. I could have gone down doing something else that would have led me to bad places, bad choices, which I didn't. So I was thankful for that.
So all your background and everything, and going through and doing coaching, the football coach, education background, what led you to life coaching?
So I knew I had good jobs, and, I finished college and all of that. So I was like, okay, now I thought that, finish school in my early 20s, get a job, start my career in my 30s, 40s, working in 50s, 60s, retire and be done, right? So here I was in my 30s, and I was like, oh my gosh, I do not have my career figured out. I'm not in a job that I enjoy, like really enjoy. And here I was married. My kids were still young in that time. And my marriage was on the rocks because I kept searching for that more. And it put a stranglehold on my relationship with my wife, because I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know where to go, what to do. And it was on the brink of ending up in a divorce, which would have been not so good for me and my relationship with my wife and my kids, right? So I came upon coaching, went through coaching myself. And at the time, I thought coaching were for people who were in crisis mode, in some kind of emergency where they couldn't figure out things on their own and needed the support of somebody else. And luckily for me, that's when I came upon high performance coaching, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing my whole life. This is that more that I was searching for. And me going through it, and then now seeing myself, like me being my first client as well, like self-coaching myself, and just seeing that, and the power and the magic of what coaching is or can be, has been such a game changer for me.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent on getting coaching because I don't know how far back you went into listening to how this came about, but Chats in the Blog Cabin actually came out because I was working with a mindset coach, and she did a free challenge. And one of the things was she was giving points, and like it was a contest, and people were like winning. They were going to win at the end of I didn't know what we were going to win, but we were going to win something at the end of the week. And one of it was go live and talk about one of your values. And one of my values is relationships, friendships. So I brought a friend on. I hate being in front of the camera. I have huge anxiety, hated it, would not go live to save my life, would not do it. But I said, you know what? I want to win that challenge. I got live the next day, went live with my friend. And it stuck. I got bit by the bug, I guess. And then boom, now I'm doing this. So that's how it all came about. So I'm a firm believer of coaching for sure.
Yeah, and so mine, right? Even now, I'm a coach. I also still get coaching because I know there's always room for me to grow. So in order for me to serve my clients, like I have to still work on myself as well, right? So then be able to provide the best service for the clients that I get to work with. Yeah, I'm a big believer in it. I push it, and I said I would love to say everyone should get coaching. Right, everyone should get coaching is what I would say.
Now you talked about your marriage was on the brink so you went to your wife and said, "Okay, I'm going to do this coaching, this life coaching." What did your wife think?
It was more like, okay, if you feel like this is what you need to do, then just do it. Right? It was supportive, but also like kind of just do something, right? And because I didn't stay in jobs long. It was like maybe 2 years, and I was like, okay, this is not for me. I don't have that passion, or I don't have that waking up every morning to like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go to work today. It was more like just a job, right? And I just kept jumping from job to job, and I just couldn't find it. And she said, if you do want to do this, then just go all in and do it. And I was scared. Mm-hmm. Even before taking that step, I was like, oh my gosh. So I just want to say, so what happened is I was at a live event, 4-day live event, and first 2 days were awesome, like mind blowing. The room was rocking. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this environment. I love being around these group of people. The energy here is just awesome. And the coaching program was offered. So I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. That is something I want to really do, right? Morning of day 3, I would not get out of bed, of the hotel room. I stayed in bed. I was crying. I was in a fetal position. I was defeated and telling myself, I cannot go there. And because I said if I went there, then I would have to make that commitment to taking that step. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was afraid of, because I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know much about the coaching industry. It's like, oh my gosh, this feels right, but I don't know much about it. And I was one who in the past was like, I need to know what's going to happen next. I need to know what potentially will happen before I take that next step. And somehow, some way, I'm a music person. I love listening to music, not playing music, but listening to music. And I put my headphones, and music started speaking to me. And I just told myself, okay, let's just get dressed, go immerse yourself in that environment again, and see how it is. Got dressed, went down, was in that environment again around thousands of people. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I decided to come. Because within that first group that we shared, we broke up in small groups and we shared. And I shared amongst like 5-6 people. And after sharing, one lady pulled me aside and said, you are the most inspiring person in this room. And I said, what? Me? Like telling myself, out of thousands of people here, there's speakers, coaches, authors, all of these other different people that I've met in the first 2 days. And telling myself, I was like, you're telling me I'm the most inspirational person here? So I just asked her, it's like, what is it about me that you say that? Right? She just shared, you're being open, you're being authentic, you're being honest, and you're just being yourself. You're being real. And I was like, wow. So she really helped champion me and push me to take that next step. And I was like, okay, this is that sign, and taking that next step. So I took the next step, and it's the best investment I've made in myself, and no looking back.
So why do you think people have a hard time being authentic and being real, even with themselves?
Because growing up, I was told, right, this is what I was told: fake it until you make it. And I was living by that. And I was faking until I make it. People asked me things, I would pretend even if I didn't know it, I pretend I knew it. And I was just faking it. And it was so hard to try to keep track of. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard to try to keep track of. I don't know what I've said. I don't know what I've done, but this is not serving me the best. And then I was like, okay, because I was afraid of what people would think of me, right? That if I didn't know something, that I was being judged. But now I'm like, if I don't know something, I'm gonna go find out the answer. I'm gonna go ask people, because I'm wasting too much time by trying to figure things out, or by trying to keep those lies, I guess I would say, right, in line. I don't know what I told to who anymore. Instead, here I am. I'm just authentic and real. Just be, hey, I don't know that, right? Even coming from an education background, when I was being a teacher, it's like when a student came and asked me something, I thought I would need to know all the answers. But then I realized, no, I did not. If a student came and asked me if I didn't know an answer, I would say, no, I don't know. But you know what? Let's put our heads together. Let's go find out who does, or find the resources for that answer, right? And now I'm more along those lines. I was like, okay, if I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know, but I'll help you find the resources, or I'll help you find somebody who knows it. I'm just not going to leave you alone. Yeah.
Like you said, I'm not going to leave you alone. When did you have that aha moment that, okay, I need to go find the resources instead of fake it till you make it?
Oh, that wasn't until I went into coaching. when I went through coaching myself, I started realizing it's like, oh my gosh, all of these years into my 30s, and now I'm just realizing this now, right? It wasn't that I wasn't being authentic and real then, but I wasn't completely authentic and real. It wasn't 100% in the past. And now I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing. This is that more that I want, that I've been wanting. Because even having kids now, right? I have two very impressionable kids that look at me, even though we as parents don't think that they're soaking everything we're doing and saying. They are, right? We are their role models. They're going to act the way we do, repeat the things that we say. So now I'm so glad that I went through that, so that I can be that role model for them. And I can be that person that they can come and talk to or ask questions about. And I can be real with them. And it's okay to say, I don't know it, so that I can role model that for them. And if they're in that situation, they can always say, or they can say as well, they don't know something, and go and ask, right? So I'm glad that I was able to go through that myself, so that I could role model that for my two kids.
Now, what do you say to them when they ask you, Daddy, what do you do for a living? How do you explain it to them? Because I know the whole thing about life coaching is kind of out there in the air. A lot of people are like, life coach? Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah. And luckily, my son is into sports, so I can kind of use the coaching analogy, like sports coaching analogy with him. For my daughter, I had to break it down a little bit. She's not into sports. I had to break it down a little bit more for her about, hey, as a coach, I just get to help people to figure things out, right? If they have certain questions, they're not sure of where to go, what to do. I just kind of help. It's a do with you, right? Kind of like, I'm not going to teach you something and then just let you go do it on your own, right? It's a do with you. So I kind of use that as one of my verbiage that I use with my daughter, so that she could kind of understand it a little bit more.
Now, what kind of clients do you work with?
At first, I was like, anyone and everyone, right? And then I started realizing, no. I'm not here to serve 8 billion people in this on this planet. I was like, no. So it's people who want to get to the next level, people who feel stuck, right? People who are saying, hey, I'm here, right? I'm at this level, but I want to get up here. Like, how do I get there? And what are steps that I need to take to get there?
Okay, so give us an example of somebody that you would work with.
So high performance is being a high performer doesn't necessarily mean that you're a C-suite level executive, a athlete, or anything like that, right? Your teacher could be a high performer. Your stay-at-home parent could be a high performer. So I just wanted to set that clear, saying no, just because you're in this status doesn't mean that you're just high performer. Anyone can be a high performer. So in particular, just what high performance is performing at high levels or exceeding those norms, right? And maintaining it over the long term. Right? That's what high performance is for me. And if you're able to put in these habits and implement these habits so that you can maintain it over the long term, you're a high performer. You are living your dream, right? You are enjoying the life that you get to create for yourself. And so, for instance, for example, one of the clients that I am working with right now is somebody who is an executive, and she is a hard worker, high performer, but she's like, I'm so busy, I don't have the time in my day to read, and I want to read. I want to find some time to read. I want to spend 2 hours reading because I just love reading, enjoy reading, but my schedule is so busy that by end of the day, I'm so tired and exhausted. And I said, okay, how did you remember? What did you use as a reminder to get on our call today with me? She said, I put in my calendar. It was written in my calendar and it was there. So I reminded myself that way. I was like, okay, can you schedule in reading time in your calendar? She said, oh, I never thought of that. I said, okay, pull out your calendar right now. She said, right now? I said, yes, right now. Let's look at tomorrow. She opens up to tomorrow. I said, does it need to be a 2-hour block or can you break it up? She said, just as long as I get my 2 hours in. So luckily for her, the next day, she was able to get in 2 1-hour blocks. And then I said, okay, let's flip to the next day. And then next week, the following week when we met up again, she's like, oh my gosh, such a difference it made in my schedule when I scheduled in that 2-hour time block or that for 2-hour time to read. I didn't know that I could do that, or I didn't know that that was something that I could do. I was like, yes, right? Just being intentional for time and putting it in and saying, hey, I need to block off this time so that I don't leave it up to chance to say, if I have time at the end of the day, I'll read. If I have time, then I'll do this, right? So she was just being intentional of her time. And that was awesome. She did all the work. So I gave her all the credit for that.
Now, what do you say for people that aren't really, because I'm not a big schedule person. I don't go by time schedule because there any given day, different things can happen. So how do you deal with clients who are not a big time scheduler?
Well, I would say, what are your priorities that you need that are must, right? Throughout from day to day, what are those daily musts that you need to do? Be it meditation, working out, journaling, reading. What is it that are your musts? Because those are the things that are going to have to go on your calendar for you to be able to do them. Or else by the end of the day, you're going to be tired. You're going to be exhausted. Or somebody else's agenda becomes your agenda, right? And now you don't get to read, you don't get to journal, you don't get to do those things that are important to you, right? Everybody doesn't have to block out their whole schedule, calendar, whatever. But what is it that are your musts that you need to do on a daily basis? And those have to be scheduled in, or else they're just might not happen, right? Because like you said, we get so busy with our schedules during the day.
Now, do you suggest having those happen at the same time every day, or squeezing them in wherever you can on your schedule?
No. Yep, squeezing it where you can, right? Unless you're one person who's like, oh my gosh, I need to do my journaling in the morning because that sets me up for the rest of my day. Then yes, because you want to set yourself up to have a successful day, right? Meditation, right? Meditation for me, I've tried it in the morning, middle of the day, end of the day, and it works out better for me in the middle of the day because then I get to recharge and re-energize, right? So there's not a one size fits all for this. It's about what do you do that best suits you, right? I have clients who meditate in the morning because then they get to start out their day with that meditation. I have clients who meditate at the end of the day because then they fall asleep better after they meditate. Fine, perfect. Like what works for you won't necessarily work for the next person, and vice versa. So find out what works for you and go with it.
I love how you were talking about that. And a lot of, I know a lot of coaches talk about having some kind of routine in the morning and some kind of routine at night. Do you advocate that as well?
I do, but I won't push it. Like say, you must do this kind of thing. It's again, right? Just what fits you. Sometimes if it's 1 or 2 things in the morning and it's 5-10 minutes, like, hey, if that works for you, that works for you, right? If that sets you up for the rest of your day, perfect. Some do gratitude writing in the morning because it works for them, or some do it in the evening because then they get to end their days with their gratitude piece, right? So what is it that piece that works for you, and finding that harmony, right? I like to say harmony, because I try to go away a little bit from this balance, right? Because there's really no such thing as that balance. But I say, hey, just find that harmony, because some days it's a 60%, and some days 75%, and some days 10%, right? Just finding that harmony within your day to fit in what you want, right? What you need to finish your day or start your day with.
So what should people look for in a coach?
Oh, I love this question. Yeah. First thing is find somebody that you connect with, right? Because there's so many coaches out there, so many people who are specialized in mindset coach, transformation coach, whatever their specialty is. Go and have that initial strategy call or discovery call, or whatever that first call is, right? And make sure you're connecting within 10, 15 minutes or so. You should know or have a good feel of that the coach on the other line, right? That the coach that you're working with. And even though now you say, oh, you and I connected and you're my coach and I feel good, even after session 1, right? You sign up, you've coached with them. Even if you don't feel right, speak up, right? And say, hey, this is not working. And a good coach would say, okay, if it's not working, what is it that's going on? Figuring out if there's something to work with, and not, hey, we could just cut ties and don't take it personal. And we both go our separate ways, right? Because as a coach, you also want to work with a client who you connect with, who you know is going to do the work, right? Because there's work to be done here. It's not, you're not coming in, I'm coaching, I'm telling you what to do. No, a coach is there to help guide you and challenge you for you to continue to show up as your best self. That's what a consultant does, right? Consultant is there to tell you what to do. As a coach is only there to guide you to where you want to go. So I would say 1, find somebody you connect with. 2, find somebody who's going to challenge you, somebody who's going to tell you things that you might not want to hear.
Yep.
Right. As a coach, I'm not here to be your friend, right? If we make that connection and say we become friends, sure, awesome. But first and foremost, I'm here to serve you, and I'm here to challenge you so that you can continue to be your best.
Have there ever been a client that you just like, yeah, it's not going to work out? I'm sorry.
Yeah. During the strategy call, right, during that discovery portion of it, and, just say, this doesn't seem like it's going to be a good fit for me, and you get their opinion on it as well, right? And I always share with them why I feel that way, because it's a relationship that we're signing into, right? Because the curriculum that I have is a 12-session journey, right? So if I'm going to work with this client for the next 12 sessions, I'm going to have that relationship, that connection with them, to be able to work with them for the next 12 sessions.
So what do your 12 sessions go into?
So we really go into clarity, influence, energy, courage, productivity. Those like the main pillars of it. And then towards the last portion of it, we'll do more into like persuasion, productivity, purpose. Like what do you serve? What is it that your purpose is, and finding that out. And then by, week 12 is the commitment to living this high performance journey, because it's not an overnight success type of thing. It's a lifelong, right? I love telling people, hey, this is a lifelong journey, right? You're going to be living as, like I said in the beginning, high performance is about maintaining it for the long term, right? Because we've heard of people who are working 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, and they're crushing it, Sure, but is that maintainable over the long term, right? If you want to have healthy relationships, if you want to have your health and wellness, right? So just trying to find that harmony of saying, okay, what is it that you're doing in your career that you're crushing it? And you're working those 60, 70-hour work weeks. If you want to have healthy relationships and work on your health and wellness, what is it that's working there so that we can apply that to these other areas in your life that are lacking or are not as strong?
Yeah, I love that. The way you can they apply something to one part of their life and see if they can apply it to the other, because they already have the tools in that one part, but they just wouldn't think of applying it to another part. How many aha moments do you get that with your clients?
Oh, and that's why I enjoy doing what I do, because I already say people are unique. People are already awesome in their own ways. It's just digging a little deeper or taking that step back, right? And looking at it from a 10,000-foot view and saying, oh, you are already crushing it this area. What is it that you're doing in this area that you're crushing it? And then they'll talk about it and be like, okay, is that something you could apply to this different area? And then like the light bulb comes on, right? It's like, wow, I didn't. And we're so blinded by that because we're too close to that situation, right? And that's why I still get coaching as well, that we don't see it. And then when our coach mentions that and points that out, and then we're like, oh yeah, you're right. I already know this. I already have these tools, these concepts. I just need to apply it in this area, in that area. And that's why I enjoy doing what I do when they get that moment.
So how often do you change coaches? I know you said you get coached. Are you coached by the same person that you started coaching with, or no?
Yes, I'm still getting coached by the same coach that I started with. And this is like round 3 of me coaching with the coach that I'm coaching with. In 2 different areas, though. 2 different areas.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you take what you learned from that coach and apply it to your own life and then help your clients as well? Or how does that work?
Yes. So I'm working with do mindset work with her, right? And then I apply it to myself and apply to what I'm working on. And then I get to apply that to the clients that I work with. And not saying I apply her concepts, right? But I apply it, what I've learned myself through the coaching that I've gone through, and I'm able to serve them at an even greater capacity.
Wow. So why did you decide, though, to do coaching? Why? Because, I mean, a lot of people think out there coaching are like, oh, they're going to tell you what to do with your life. And, a lot of people aren't. It's becoming more common now than when it first started out. But why did you decide that this was for you?
Yeah. And like I said, right, when I went through it and I realized that I was my first client, right? I was doing self-coaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, what I've been missing is a coach, right? In previous years, if I had a coach would have done this and helped me guide through this. And that's why I enjoy coaching so much, because then I'm able to give back and serve people who are going through a similar struggle or challenge and just feel stuck and not sure where to turn or who to go to. And just me being able to provide that guidance and saying, okay, and being okay with where they are, right? Because you only know what you know, right? I tell my clients, you only know what you know. So me holding, where do you want to go ultimately? Like, what is that big dream or that big goal that you have, right? Okay. What is that feeling that you have? How would it feel like once you get there? And I'll kind of hold that for them. And then going back to the present day of, what is the next action you could take to work towards that goal? Let's not even look action 2 or 3 or 4. Let's just look at the next step. What is the next step? Because that's the most important step. What is the next action step that you could take? And if they come and say, okay, X, right? I'll take X step. Then the next question would be like, okay, is that aligned with where you want to go? Is that aligned with that big dream or that big goal you have? And if they feel like it is, okay, if you feel like it is, take it, right? Don't worry too much about what's going to happen after that. Don't worry too much about that. Let's just take that step. And a lot of times it's the right step. And there are times where it's not. But that's okay, because now we know we've taken it, and now we'll learn from it, come back, look at our other options, and then go through that whole process again.
So after you went through coaching, I want to know the reaction of people that knew you before you started coaching, and before you went through coaching, and after you went through coaching, their reaction to the change in you, because obviously there's a change when you go through coaching.
Yes. Very funny. Even my family, right? That's like my siblings. Like I said, I come from a bigger family. I have 6 siblings. And just me sharing that with them and me talking in a different way. And like you mentioned, right? And just showing up differently. At first, it was like like, what is going on? What is this that you're doing? And then the more I started talking about it, and the more I just started using that type of language, they were very supportive, and they said, "Oh, we can see you doing this," right? But then I always felt like I wanted to coach and needed to coach people, but I told myself, "Stop! I'm not here to coach everyone, unless they want to be coached, right? Unless they have a question, sure, we could go down that road." But at first, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to coach you through this. I just want to walk you through this right now." But if people aren't ready to take that next step or say, "Hey, I want to get coaching," I just can't openly coach and work with them, right? And even more so my family, because I wanted to coach them so much. So they, "Oh my gosh, I just want to like push this play button and coach you right now." Then I had to take a step back and said, "Oh no, if they're not ready for that piece, don't do that," right? Just talk to them as a brother, talk to them as a sibling, and not as a coach, and don't go down that road. And if they're open to it, then I can take that step, right? So that was the adjustment piece of, at first I was super excited about it, just wanted to coach everybody, but then realized, okay, taking a step back, everybody's not ready at that level to say, I want to coach and I want to be coached. So I just took the step back and said, okay, and being open to, if they're open to it, take that step. If not, just be there as a friend, a brother, sibling, uncle. So
have you coached anybody in your family?
I'm not, no. We've had talks, right? But I haven't sat down and like coach them through a series of things, right? We might have like a conversation about it, and like coaching topics come up, or coaching time comes up for me, and I might say a few things, but I won't go in depth with coaching with them.
Yeah. They're probably like, I don't really want to go into it because he's going to be coaching me all the time now. No, we don't want to. Nope. Here comes Elliott. We're not going to talk about anything around him because he's going to be coaching us, right?
Yes. Even my wife, right? So my wife is a business coach, and we even told each other we are not going to coach each other unless we asked for it, right? Because there are times where we'll be talking and we would say to each other, "Are you coaching me right now? Are you coaching me right now?" And then we'll take a step back, like, "Hold on, am I coaching you right now? I might be, but let's stop there, because then we don't want to get coaching, right? We're here just to have a conversation." So even with my wife, we have to check ourselves a little bit there when we have conversations.
That's got to be hard with you being a high performance coach, a life coach, and her being a business coach. Wow. Whoa. I can just imagine what your dinner table conversations are like.
We have to be very in touch. Oh, our kids get it. Our kids get that, the brunt of our coaching sometimes. So.
They're going to be the most well-coached kids in America, right?
Let's hope so.
So was your wife a business coach before you started the life coaching, or no?
Yeah, she was a business coach before I started the high performance coaching. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason why she supports you so much, is because she sees the difference it made in her life. So the business coaching. So maybe.
And also since I've gotten coaching and doing what I'm doing, it's changed our relationship so much as well, for the positive. Just because of the type of conversations that we could have, I'm more present in our relationship, right? I took that for granted and didn't realize how much I wasn't present in our relationship, and now if I were to have a conversation, I would drop everything, right, and not try to work on my computer and have a conversation with her at the same time, because that wasn't serving me well. So I would stop what I'm doing and give her my full attention, because there were times when I would nod at her, and then an hour later, it's like, did you remember what we talked about?
Nope.
Not a clue. And that didn't serve me well, right? So it's now like, okay, just give her time, or say, hey, I can't talk to you right now. Give me 5 minutes. Let me finish what I'm doing. Right. That was another piece of it.
Wow. That seems like you're a better communicator now too.
Oh, so much better. But there's still room to improve, right? There's still room to improve, but so much better, because I can communicate with her because I'm listening to her. Right. That's the big piece about communicating. We think it's about having this verbal conversation with people. No. We need to listen as well in order to have a conversation. Who is on the receiving end just wants to listen to us? No, we also have to. It has to be a back and forth, right? So,
yeah, that is so true. Now our time is almost up. Is there one little nugget that you can kind of share about anything that you do or anything that you want to share that we didn't touch?
So there are people who I work with, and they're like, I don't know what my purpose is, right? I don't know what my purpose is. I walk them through a quick framework. It's quick. Since my name starts with E, I have this alliteration of E's that I use, right? This quick framework. So number one, what is it that you get emotional about, right? What is it that eats at your heart? What is it that when you see happens, you're just like, oh my gosh, that just gives me such a heartache. And then number two, what is it that you're excited about, right? What is it that brings you joy? What is it that brings you excitement? And you're willing to do it, even if you didn't get paid, kind of thing, right? And then number three is, what is it that you are exceptional at, right? What is it that your skill, your whatever skill level, what is it that you're exceptional at? Because if we have a passion for stuff and we're not exceptional at it, we're not good at it, then it's going to be hard for us to excel at it. I'm 5'6". I could say I want to be the best basketball player ever. Chances are it's not going to happen, right? But there's also a skill there I could learn. I could be a coach. I could be a basketball coach. I could do other pieces with it, right? What is a skill that I could get exceptional at so that I can work on my passion towards, right? So again, what is it you are getting emotional about? What is it you get excited about? And what is it that you're exceptional at? And walking through that quick framework, it gives people a better idea of, oh, okay, that gives me a better idea of what my passion or my purpose is.
I love that. Exceptional, emotional, and excited. I love that. The E's. And I love that. The way you said, since your name starts with E, Elliott, I love that. So tell me, where can people find you?
Yeah, they can go to my website at elliottVang.com. That's Elliott with 2 L's and 2 T's, okay? Vang.com, V-A-N-G. And, I have a tool on there, a guide that they can kind of print out and help guide them with their daily intentions, right? Just who do I want to be today? How do I want to show up today? What is it I'm looking forward to today, right? Things that they can ask themselves, quick daily questions to kind of help lead them on a more intentional day.
And if they decide they want to coach with you, you do Zoom call coaching, or do you coach anywhere, people from anywhere, or are you just mainly in Minnesota?
No, anyway, and that's so even though we suffered through this pandemic, yes, we've had loss and people have lost loved ones and family members, right? But the great thing for me that has turned out from this pandemic is that I'm able to connect with people halfway across the world. And I've served clients that are in different parts of the world that I would have never visited, right? But then that's the great piece about this, is that I'm able to connect with so many different people and help serve them and guide them so that they can show up. So a long answer to your question. Yes, I do coach over Zoom.
I love that. So Elliott, thank you so much for coming on and clearing up more about being a coach, because I think there's still a lot of people out there that are like, what is that? The people are like, it's kind of like little iffy, sketchy stuff, So thank you for clearing that up.
Yes, I would say give it a shot, right? Just give it a shot, right? Try it out.
So, like I said, Elliott, thank you for coming on. And guys, we will see you